Welcome to Highly Serious. I'm your host, Craig Anthony Marshall. This is episode 3 of the top 15 live-action superhero films. Previously, we showed numbers 15, 14, and 13, but today we're going to focus on numbers 12 and 11. In this episode, we're just going to jump right into it. Here's number 12. So since Spider-Man 2 is number 12 and Spider-Man Homecoming is number 13, I'm going to be making some direct comparisons between the two films. I think this only makes sense since they're based on the same source material and they're only separated by one slot on the list. I still think Spider-Man 2 is the definitive Spider-Man movie. It does everything really well. I mean, I think it just nudges out Spider-Man Homecoming. It's really close, they're neck and neck, but I think it's just slightly better. Who knows, maybe after repeated viewing I'll come around to Spider-Man Homecoming, but for right now, I think it's safe to kind of still put Spider-Man 2 ahead of Spider-Man Homecoming, because there's a couple of key things that it does a little bit better than Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, I think just the emotional depth of what's going on beyond the whole superhero adventure is kind of cool in Spider-Man 2. You have Aunt May going through financial difficulties. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, can barely make rent. You know, he's struggling financially. There's a lot of like real world issues coming into play in Spider-Man 2. There's a scene between Aunt May, played by Rosemary Harris, and Peter Parker, played by Tobey Maguire, that is probably one of the most powerful scenes in any Spider-Man movie. The scene I'm talking about is the scene where Peter has to tell Aunt May that he could have prevented Uncle Ben's death. Just the look on Aunt May's face. That scene still gets me. Rosemary Harris is a great actor. On a side note, am I the only one who thought it was weird that Spider-Man Homecoming doesn't even mention Uncle Ben? What the hell? Ben Parker is responsible for Peter becoming the man that he did. Even Batman vs. Superman, which was not a standalone movie for Batman, showed the death of Bruce Wayne's parents because it's so integral to Bruce Wayne's character. But I digress. We're here to discuss the merits of Spider-Man 2 and not the faults of Spider-Man Homecoming. I just feel like Spider-Man 2 hit deeper emotional depths than Spider-Man Homecoming did. The train fight scene between Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus is still the best action sequence in any Spider-Man film. That's huge, and the fact that they were able to do all that stuff and make it look so realistic way back in 2004 speaks for itself. I don't think Sam Raimi gets enough credit for coming up with the way Spider-Man looks when he's in action, when he's swinging through the city, when he's spinning webs, slinking through the interior of a train car. That was really hard to pull off. He really pioneered a lot with his trilogy of films. Last but not least, Otto Octavius. As far as villains go, Alfred Molina does a fantastic job as the main antagonist, Dr. Octopus. Again, it's super close, razor thin close, but Spider-Man 2 just edges out Spider-Man Homecoming for number 12 on the Highly Serious Top 15 live-action superhero films list. Matthew Vaughn really infuses this movie with so much style. It is just dripping with style. It just flows really well. It's just a really cool, well-done movie. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy do such a great job of taking up the roles of Professor X and Magneto. I love how cool Magneto is in this film. He's like James Bond circa 1962 Dr. No Sean Connery style. The interrogation scene with the Swiss banker is legit. The bar scene in Argentina is on point. I love the way it's shot. Michael Fassbender is super smooth. Just a really well shot sequence. Loved Rose Byrne as Myra McTaggart. The most underrated actor in this film is Kevin Bacon. He does such a great job as Sebastian Shaw. Like, I feel like he's such a great heel in this movie. The scene where Sebastian Shaw attacks the CIA building is incredible. I love when he like walks in all confident, and they're shooting rockets at him, they're shooting guns at him. He just absorbs the energy, stomps his foot, and redirects the energy back at him. You have Azazel like teleporting people into the air and then dropping them. It's such a really cool and intense scene. This was also Jennifer Lawrence's breakout movie in the X-Men. Like, she was really good in this movie. I loved her in Winter's Bone also. That's the first time I ever saw her in any movie, was in Winter's Bone. They also got the look of Magneto's helmet really down pat. Like, it's very close to the original comic book source material, which I think is very cool. I really like the costume design in X-Men First Class. I love that Matthew Vaughn really leaned into the blue and yellow look in the films. Surprisingly, he was able to make this crazy color scheme somehow look functional. An impressive feat. I think the big action sequence at the end of the film was handled really well, and the ending scene when Magneto and Sebastian Shaw meet up for the last time is bonkers. And Magneto whips out the coin, shows it to him, makes it move. Sebastian Shaw is helpless to stop him. I just love the way that scene is shot, the pacing, the intensity. It's just so visceral. I think number 11 is a great place for X-Men First Class, right outside the top 10, but firmly entrenched in the top 15 live-action superhero films. So that was number 12, Spider-Man 2, and number 11, X-Men First Class. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, it's been a pleasure, Craig Anthony Marshall.